Over the last couple of weeks, a lot of sort of negative stories about the potential impacts. Also, developed countries have been through lots of periods of restructuring driven by technological change. So I think there's a general nervousness about the implications of these things for workers.
How has the emergence of ChatGPT changed attitudes or changed the narrative around AI?
It's been an absolute game changer. So 5 years ago, when we asked people about how optimistic you were, people were more concerned than optimistic. In this survey, 50% of the people we spoke to said they're optimistic about the opportunities. Now, if you look at what's happened, it took Spotify 150 days to get to 1 million users. It took Instagram 75 days to get to 1 million users. It took ChatGPT 5 days. The take-up of it has been enormous, and as people have experimented with it and seen what they can do with it, I think they've become more optimistic about the opportunities for their work.
Yeah, opportunities about, optimistic about the opportunities, but also concerned about the ramifications on their work as well. I thought this statistic was interesting. 79% of respondents think that their job is likely to be transformed or eliminated by artificial intelligence. That's quite a scary figure. Is there not also a view that artificial intelligence is going to transform the way these labor markets operate?
Yeah, that concern is very real and very understandable. I mean, every wave of technological change for over 200 years since the start of the Industrial Revolution has been very disruptive for people in their current roles. I think what's interesting, if you look back over what you learn from the history, is that these step changes create new work. And so we're going to see the same thing here. So we're going to get some things that are replaced, but we're going to get a lot more work, as you said, augmented by artificial intelligence. Now, what's interesting in the report is that 86% of people say, I need help developing the skills to take advantage. So that's a massive job to address this. Governments, companies got to help people develop the skills so they can adapt to the new types of work this will enable.
Yeah, essentially upskilling is required to teach people how to use the artificial intelligence tools in a smart way. But again, it also comes back to the fact that you need to trust the artificial intelligence tools you're using in the first place, and that comes hand in hand with regulation.
Yeah.
So to what extent are the respondents in this survey concerned about the lack of regulation, or whether the regulation that is going to be rolled out in the future will be sufficient to ensure that the rollout is responsible?
Again, really interesting. If you think back to the start of the internet, people were kind of, let it be. Here, 4 out of 5 people in this survey, 80%, are saying there needs to be regulation. So people absolutely have got concerns about how this is regulated and want to see that regulation. Really strong message from this. And again, role for governments, but also governments have got a role to help companies on the reskilling side as well.
What are your recommendations from the survey? I mean, BCG obviously does a ton of work consulting and advising businesses and governments on how to go about things like upskilling workers. So what would you suggest?
Well, the first thing I'd suggest is get started. Pick a couple of areas. So a lot of companies will pick an area like legal or marketing and say, let's try some things out. Let's give it a go. See what we can learn, see what we can do. And in the process, you learn what to do better and you help to upskill people. And then you really have to double down on this reskilling piece. If you're going to do a lot of this, you've got to help people make that transition.